Students, good morning. As you can see on your screen, this is the class 8th English reader, and today I'm going to teach you chapter number 10, the broaded window. Okay, this is the your literature part, and today I'm going to teach you chapter number 10. And as you can see, the title of the chapter number 10 is the broaded window. What is boarded window? Sorry, boarded window. So what is boarded window? एक ऐसी विंडो जिस पे हमेशा बोर्ड लगा हो. You can say it always closed. Okay, so after that we will discover the story. Over here in the introduction you can see this is a mysterious story of an old man who alone lived in a forest. How he survived, what is his story, let us together discover it. So in this story there is an old man. इस कहानी में दिस इज अ मिस्टीरियस स्टोरी, यानी फुल ऑफ मिस्ट्री, जिसमें रहस्यों से भरी हो. इट मीन्स दिस स्टोरी इज अ वेरी मिस्टीरियस, एंड यू नो मिस्टीरियस story always give a lot, you can say give us a lot of info, because when we see, when we imagine the mysterious things, it is very enjoyable for us. So this is the story that is very interesting for you also. So this is a mysterious story of an old man, and you know this is the story of an old man who alone lived in a forest, जो अकेले एक जंगल में रहता था. Okay, this is a mysterious story of an old man who lived in a forest. So, old man who alone lived, it means he was living alone in that deep forest. And so this was a very mysterious story, because he was living alone over there and nobody was with him over there. So what happens after that, how he survive, किस तरह से वह अपना जीवन यापन करता है, किस तरह से वह वहाँ पे रहता है, what is his story, and what is the story, what is the full story of that old man. Let us together discover it. It means when we will study together, that we will discover, then we will find out that what happens in the story next ahead. Okay, so listen, I'm going to explain, I'm going to read first paragraph of this story, and after that I will explain it. You will listen very carefully so that you can understand totally what is the complete story. Okay, so listen very first, the first paragraph I'm going to read. In 1830, only a few miles away from what is now the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio, lay a huge and almost endless forest. Okay, in 1830s, this is story around 1830, यानी लगभग 1830 की बात है. Only a few miles away from that is now the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio. It means only a few miles away from that, from what is now the great city of Cincinnati. It means now the great city of Cincinnati, that is situated in Ohio, few miles away from this. It means from this, it means from the Cincinnati, Ohio, few miles away from this city lay a huge and almost endless forest. Lay a huge, एक बहुत ही विशाल, almost endless forest. एंडलेस फॉरेस्ट मतलब एक ऐसा फॉरेस्ट जो बहुत ही विशाल था, यानी उसका कहीं अंत ही नहीं होता था. यू कैन सी इट वॉज वेरी ह्यूज, इट वॉज वेरी लार्ज, एंड you can say it was so big that it was endless. It means you can say there were no limit of this forest, because it was very broad, it was very huge, it was very big. Okay, and after that second paragraph you will see from here, because first paragraph I have taught you, so this is the second paragraph. Listen from here. The area had a few settlements established by people of the frontier. Many of them had already left the area for settlements further to the west, but among those remaining was a man who had been one of the first people to arrive there. Okay, so the area had a few settlements established by people of the frontier. Frontier means the people who came there from the frontier, मतलब कुछ अलग अगल बगल से साइडों से. द एरिया हैड अ फ्यू सेटलमेंट्स, जहाँ पे उस एरिया में कुछ सेटलमेंट्स हो गए थे. इट मीन्स दे वर लिविंग सम पीपल इन दैट एरिया established by people of the frontier. Many of them had already left the area, and you can say many of them, it means over there some settlements have done, but after that many of them, उनमें से ज़्यादातर लोग had already left the area, उस एरिया को छोड़ दिए थे, for settlements further to the west, and they have settlements in the further to the west. It means they have gone to the west side, because it was very dangerous, because all over deep forest. Many of them had already left the area for settlements further to the west, But among those remaining was a man who had been one of the first people to arrive there. But among those remaining was a man, लेकिन उन सब में जितने लोग बचे हुए थे उसमें से there was a man who had been one of the first people to arrive there. वह पहला व्यक्ति था जो उस प्लेस पर आया हुआ था. किस प्लेस में? मीन्स फ्रॉम इन दैट फॉरेस्ट, इन दैट ह्यूज फॉरेस्ट देर वॉज इन द रिमेनिंग मैन, that old man was the one who was living there in that big forest, in that huge forest alone, because you can say he was living alone over there because he was very courageous, and after that he was living there and nobody was there in that forest with him. Okay. After that, what happens in the third paragraph, you will see he lived alone in a house of logs, surrounded all sides by the great forest. Okay, he lived alone in a house of logs. It means over there in that huge forest, he has made a house that was made by logs. Logs what? लकड़ियों से जिसका निर्माण किया गया. तो only he used woods for making. Only he has used wood for making his house. So it was the house that was made by logs. He lived alone, and in this house he was living alone also, because there was no anybody who was living with him, and so he made over there in the huge forest a house, and over there it was made by logs, and he was living there alone. Okay, he lived alone in a house of logs surrounded on all sides of the great forest. यानी ये जो हाउस था उसका, वह चारों तरफ से जंगलों से घिरा था. इट वॉज टोटली सराउंडेड बाय द फॉरेस्ट बिकॉज it was a deep forest and he was living there alone. He lived alone in a house of the logs surrounded all sides by the great forest. He seemed a part of the darkness and silence of the forest. He seemed a part of the darkness. फिर क्या महसूस करता है? He seemed a part of the darkness and silence in the forest. Means he was living alone, so he always feels the darkness and silence everywhere in the forest. यानी कभी कभी वह चारों तरफ पूरी तरह से डार्कनेस, क्योंकि अंधेरा हो जाता था, एंड देर वर नो साउंड कमिंग फ्रॉम एनीवेयर. इट मीन्स इट वॉज टोटली, you can say, silent atmosphere over there. So he was living in that place where he was living. He lived alone in a house of logs surrounded by all sides. He seemed a part of the darkness and silent of the forest. यानी उसको seemed a part of the darkness, यानी अंधेरा part, and a silent of the forest means he always feels or he always realized darkness everywhere and silence everywhere in the forest. For no one had ever known him to smile or speak an unnecessary word. यानी कोई भी नहीं जानता था. For no one had ever known him, यानी कोई भी उसको नहीं जान पाता था. Him to smile, मुस्कुराते हुए, और speak an unnecessary word. इस unnecessary word में मतलब कोई कभी भी कोई उससे मिलता ही नहीं था, ना तो वह किसी से बात करता था, ना तो स्माइल करता था, ना तो स्पीक करता था, because nobody was there and he was living alone and he was thinking that all the word is very unnecessary for him. It means an unnecessary word, यानी कभी भी वह unnecessary word use ही नहीं करता था. You can say he always remained silent. He was not talking anyway, he was not speaking any word because nobody was there and he was living alone in that silent place and that dark place. So you can say it was very silent, he was very wordless. Okay, for no one had ever known him to smile or speak an unnecessary word. His simple needs were supplied by selling or trading the skin of the wild animals in the forest. And how he was managed there, how he lived there, because it means how he was getting his food. His simple needs were supplied. जो उसकी simple needs थी, that was supplied by selling or trading, यानी सेल करके या बेच करके, व्यापार करके, द स्किन ऑफ वाइल्ड एनिमल्स इन द फॉरेस्ट. यानी क्या बेचता था वह? ही ऑलवेज सेल्ड and he was always selling and trading the skins of the wild animals because he was hunting there in the forest, and after that he used to sell that animal's skin, and in this way he was earning and he was living, he was surviving in that forest. And it was only the way from which he can earn money because he was hunting the animals, and after that he was selling the skin of that animals. In this way he was living his livelihood. Okay, after that, next paragraph, listen from here. his little log house had a single door. His little log house had a single door. उसका जो little log house था, log house had a single door. उसमें केवल एक ही दरवाजा था. It means the house has only a single door. Little log house. It was a very little also, and it was made by the log. So this little log house that has only a single door. इस लॉक हाउस में केवल एक ही दरवाज़ा था. डायरेक्टली अपोजिट वॉज अ विंडो एंड डायरेक्टली अपोजिट ऑफ द गेट ऑफ द डोर ही हैज़ अ विंडो. ओके, यानी दरवाजे के ठीक सामने जो डोर था उस हाउस का, उसके ठीक अपोजिट साइड में यानी उसके पीछे, यू कैन से द हाउस डायरेक्टली अपोजिट वॉज अ विंडो. ही हैज़ अ विंडो, ही हैज़ मेड अ विंडो. द विंडो वॉज बोर्डेड अप, और उसी विंडो पर हमेशा उसको क्लोज किया रहता था. बोर्डेड अप मतलब उस पर बोर्ड लगा होता था. इट मीन्स यू कैन से इट वॉज टोटली क्लोज्ड फॉर एवर. ही नेवर ओपन इट. ओके, द विंडो वॉज बोर्डेड अप. नो वन कुड रिमेंबर अ टाइम व्हेन इट वॉज नॉट. और कोई भी किसी को भी याद ही नहीं होगा कि जब वह उसको ओपन किया हो. इट मीन्स इट वॉज टोटली क्लोज्ड फॉर एवर. वह हमेशा पूरी तरह से बंद रहती थी. ओके, एंड नो वन न्यू वाई इट हैड बीन क्लोज्ड. और कोई भी यह नहीं जानता था कि वह हमेशा बंद क्यों रहती थी. I imagine there were a few people living today who ever knew the secret of that window. And I imagine, it means the narrator who was telling this story, he was imagining that there were few people, यानी कुछ लोग थे. देर आर फ्यू पीपल, कुछ लोग ऐसे हैं लिविंग टुडे जो आज भी वहाँ रह रहे हैं. वी वर न्यू द सेक्रेट ऑफ दैट विंडो. वे आज भी शायद उस विंडो के सेक्रेट को जानते हैं. बट आई एम वन एज यू शैल सी, लेकिन मैं भी एक हूँ जैसा कि आप देख रहे होंगे. Okay, it means the narrator who was telling the story, he also know the secret, and so this was the reason he was telling this story, that what was the secret of that window, why it was you can say remain closed forever, why he don't open it forever anyway. And so this was the reason narrator was telling that he also know the secret, that why it was totally closed forever and why never he opened it. Okay, after that last paragraph, the man's name was said to be Marlock. What is the name of that old man? The name of that old man was Marlock. The man's name was said to be Marlock. He appeared to be 70 years old, and he was nearly at that moment when he was writing this story. It means he was telling this story. At that time, he was near about 70 years old. लगभग 70 साल का हो गया था. But he was really 50. But he was looking as 50. It means he was nearly 70 years old, but he was too young. He was very healthy, and in this way he was looking like that he was 50 years old. 50, sometimes older, sometimes something other than years had been the cause of his aging. Something other than years यानी years के सिवा कुछ और भी had been the cause, जो इसका रीजन था of his aging, उसके एज का. ओके, इट मीन्स ही अपियर टू बी 70. वह लगता ऐसे था जैसे वह 70 का हो, लेकिन इन रियलिटी ही वॉज 50. ही वॉज 50 ईयर्स ओल्ड. मतलब रियल में वह 50 ईयर्स का था, लेकिन उसकी कंडीशन ऐसी हो गई थी, उसके पास प्रॉब्लम्स थी. इट मीन्स बिकॉज ऑफ हिज एजिंग यू कैन से ही अपियर टू बी 70 ईयर्स ओल्ड. वह ऐसा लगता था जैसे 70 साल का हो गया हो, बट इन रियलिटी ही वॉज 50 ईयर्स ओल्ड. So he appeared to be 70 years old, but he was really 50. Something other than years had been the cause of his aging. Something other than the years, मतलब इन years के सिवाय कुछ और reasons थे. In this way, because of that reason, that great causes, he was looking so yearful. It means so aging, so old. वह इतना बूढ़ा या 70 साल का इसलिए दिखता था. Already he was 50 years old, and at 8 he was looking like that he was 70 years old. There is a reason behind it. There is a secret behind it. It means there is a cause that nobody knows. Okay, and after that his hair and long full beard were white. उसके जो बाल थे और जो उसकी लंबी लंबी दाढ़ी थी, फुल beard were white, वे सभी सफ़ेद हो गई थी. His grey lifeless eyes were sunken. उसकी जो आंखें थे एकदम सूख सी गई थी, sunken. His face was, so I have taught you this best today, and After that, I will continue this chapter in the next video. Dear students, you will read it very carefully. You will understand it so that further study you can understand also. So, thank you, dear students. Bye bye.